Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast with J. Gordon Duncan. And if you're wondering why the J, the answer is I'm not a bagpipe player. And if that joke doesn't make any sense, I encourage you to check out episode 0, where I explain that joke, as well as the purpose of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast, where we talk about faith, family, fitness, finances, and sometimes fun. Well, friends, you can see I'm not in the studio. We just did 3 episodes where I was in the studio, and it just didn't work out for me to get there. I can't wait to get back. I miss Shane Dale, my producer. She makes all these episodes better. So I'm recording in the home office, and you can see with my background that it's the Boston Marathon. But before we get there, as always, I start with thank you. I'm just very thankful that you are listening and you're checking in every week. I heard a stat the other day that if you record more than 25 episodes, you are in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world. That means there's a ton of podcasts out there. And it also means a lot of them don't make it past 25. And we are over 450, which is crazy. I was talking to someone the other day. They asked me what I was going to do for 500, which is about a year away. And I was like, I don't know, but we're going to have a big old podcast festival or something when I hit 500. But as always, I'm very thankful you tune in and listen. And I'll be honest with you, this episode is just kind of selfish. If you are listening to this on Sunday or Monday, it's time for the Boston Marathon. The marathon is on Patriots Day. Patriots Day is the 3rd Monday every April in Boston. And this year it'll be on April 17th. I had to look up the date. So if you're listening to this on Sunday or Monday, the Boston Marathon is either happening or about to happen. And you know what? I clear my entire calendar. I don't make any appointments so that I can work, but I can watch the Boston Marathon and nothing gets in my way. I absolutely love it every single year. And that's my plan. I'm not running it this year. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but I am setting aside the time. It's really a special day for me, especially because I finally got there and because Boston means a lot to me. If you guys remember, if you've been with me a while, I did run Boston 2 years ago. I didn't run it well, but that really wasn't the point. It was, as one of my friends now calls it, it was at party pace. And party pace is when you just enjoy the race itself, because I gave it a good shot for the first 15 miles. You know, I was coming off an injury and I just blew up. I didn't have it. And at mile 15, I said, I'm going to take every high five and every fist bump, and I'm going to enjoy it the entire way. And I was limping, and what a mess. I was in tears, but I did it. And I have very vivid memories of crossing the finish line, getting my medal. I can look at my medal from where I'm sitting, and getting a blanket and just going and lying down in the park. And there was another guy beside me, and he was just completely wasted and shredded. Just the race had beaten him up, just like me. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to people I didn't know. I was up there by myself, so there wasn't anybody at the finish line. And once I got able to get back up, I remember hobbling over to the hotel, changing clothes and grabbing Sam Adams, because I'm in Boston, and some food, and just talking to strangers. And I sat there at that table for probably an hour and a half, just eating and having a beer and talking to folks. And it was just an amazing experience. I went home exhilarated, depleted, called my family, and just what of an experience. But I'm not reliving Boston today. There's multiple podcasts out there about me doing that. But I will say that I've been emotional this year. I mean, like purely, like literally emotional. I have read 2 books in the last 2 weeks. I read Kara Goucher's book, an amazing former Nike athlete, and her experience being in the Olympics and being in the Nike Oregon Project, which was under a lot of scrutiny, and her efforts to be a clean runner in a project that was not clean, and fighting off some of the sexual advances that she went through, and some of the sexual abuse. It was very harrowing. I had a hard time starting that book. I was fearful just of how it would impact me, and I'm very glad I read it. And then just today, while cutting grass, I just finished Des Linden's book, and I listened to Des Linden's book in less than 48 hours. It's an autobiography that I have been looking forward to for a long time. Des won I believe it was the 2018 Boston Marathon. And she was the first woman, American woman, to win in 40 years. And the story of her win is amazing. In the book, she doesn't tell it straight through. She breaks up the mileage, certain segments of the race throughout her entire story, because she shares about being a two-time Olympian and how the first Olympic experience was tough because she had to DNF mile 2, and the second one was a little better. She talked about fighting what she felt like was a dirty sport when people were taking meds and when the carbon fiber shoes came in and she didn't have access to them. But her Boston Marathon experience was amazing because she started that race um, almost planning on DNFing, not finishing. She didn't feel like she was in her best shape. That was the year where the weather was insane. It was cold. The wind was whipping, just gale force winds. Shalane Flanagan was the American favorite. And I remember watching it that year. And early in the race, and what we didn't know at that time, was that Des told Shalane, "Hey, I'm going to help you. I don't have it today." And so the way other people help is they get into the front of the pack and they slow the pace down, or they run in front of the runner and take some of the wind. There's lots of different ways in which you can help a runner and still be legal. And Des told Shalane early on, I'm not feeling it today, so just let me know how I can help you. And I remember early on in the race, watching Shalane went to the bathroom, which is really rare for the elites. And so I think it was just 13 seconds. So I don't know how you do that. And what Des did is she held back so that Shalane could catch up. And then Des led the way for Shalane to get back into the lead pack. But it was not Shalane's day. It just wasn't. She didn't have it. And I remember Des talking about, like, if you DNF in Boston, there's not an easy way to get back anywhere. You have to Uber or find your way, because like if you DNF at mile 13, you're just it's not a down and back. You just run through all these towns. So once you got 13 miles in, she's like, I got to finish this thing, but she kept running well. And she talks about being in third place towards the end of the race, and the runner, I can't remember her name, for me, who's in second place. She could tell, she's like, this girl is not going to finish well. She's not running a smart race. She's up in second place. And, she began to, Des began to think, I might win this thing. And then there was the temptation to just not push and come in second. But she had come in second before by 2 seconds. That's a lot of seconds. Sorry, second before by 2 seconds. And Des won. And it was an amazing experience in terrible conditions, arduous conditions. A lot of people didn't finish that day. And she talked about how it changed her career, changed her relationship with her coaches. She wound up leaving her coaches. The struggle she had with her running shoe sponsor, Brooks, which is a shoe I train in, excuse me. And I just really enjoyed the book. I did. It was a lighter read than Kara's book. Not that it didn't have depth. Kara's book dealt with a lot more things like abuse and that kind of thing. Des's book was probably more immediately interesting. But I took both those books in the last 2 weeks. And I'm training right now for the Marine Corps Historic Half Devil Dog Double, which is a half marathon plus 5 more, basically. And in town here, when you run the historic half, you have to run up what's called Hospital Hill, make a turn, and then you have to run up Cowan Boulevard, it's 2 pretty brutal hills. And then you get a straight shot to Wegmans, this grocery store in town. That's the historic half. But if you do the Devil Dog, when you get to the finish line of this historic half, you turn around and you run back, and then you run down to the bottom of Cowan. I know if you don't know these hills, they don't make anything, but Cowan is very deep. And so you get that downhill, but then you've got to turn and go back up again. And I ran last year coming off of injury. I came in fourth in my age, and so I'm training for that right now, and I'm healthy and I'm enjoying my training and finding some new ways to push myself. So I've gotten in both these books while training, and I'm emotional about Boston. I have qualified for the Boston Marathon 3 times. Oddly enough, like qualifying is a celebration. You cross the finish line, and but the way it's worked out, I've really have only had one time ever where I got to cross the finish line and fully celebrate that I qualified. In my marathon from 2 months ago, I ran a 3:33, which is great. But to qualify, I need to run a 3:24. So you can see how far away I was. I think I was 13 or 14 seconds away per mile. But I'm healthy and I'm building, so I've got a race later on in the year, hoping to qualify, that kind of thing. But I don't have any more qualifiers in the bag. Last year I qualified, but I wasn't able to go. So I don't have any more right now. I have to earn my way back to Boston one more time. And Boston's always my goal. I don't think I'm ever going to stop trying to get there. I am qualified for Chicago, and I've got to think about that. And I'm very happy to have a Chicago qualifier. But there's Boston. And I don't know what the emotion is. I think it's that. I think, when you run with a BQ in the bag, you get to run with a little bit more freedom, maybe a little bit less push. I don't know. I'm watching it this year knowing I don't get to go back unless I earn it. And I'd love to run it healthy. I'd love to run a strong race. I didn't run well last 2 years ago, but I got to run it, and I will always be thankful for that. But I'm going to watch it this year, and the Kipchoge is running, and he wants to set the Boston course record. He is the world marathon fastest. He is the GOAT. He's the elite. No one disputes that he is the greatest marathon runner of all time. I think he has the New York marathon record, and he's going for Boston. And I've never seen Kipchoge have a bad race. There's no reason to think he won't set it, or at least win. I think there's some varied women favorites this year, but Des is running. And one of the things that both the autobiographies taught me was that when you see an elite on the starting line, you have no idea what their training cycle has been like. You don't know if they're working with injury. You don't know if they've had a flu in the last couple of weeks. You don't know if they're running to fulfill a shoe contract or whether they really feel like they've got a chance. I got to say, I'm pulling for Des. I'd love to see her be a 2-time winner. That would be amazing. And Des is one of the toughest runners in the world, male or female. So I'm definitely pulling for her. I don't even know, honestly, who the lead American male is at this point in time. We've been a while since we really thought we had. I think, since Meb won after 9/11, Gallon Rupp has been the one who's come closest, and he still has not bounced back since his Nike Oregon project controversy. And I know I'm getting into the weeds here, so I'm going to watch it. This podcast has given me an opportunity to kind of process out loud how I'm feeling. But I could very well be emotional watching it. Boston means a lot to me because when I lost running due to my seizures, I didn't know if I'd ever get it back. And I know I fight the effects of those meds every day and would love to experience it one more time. So guys, if you get a chance, watch it. If you don't enjoy watching marathon running, you might find yourself getting caught up in it. It'll be on Monday morning, and just take it in. I will be taking it in, and I've got the time set aside. No one's supposed to be bothering me. So it should be pretty amazing. But guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back into the studio next week with a different background. I don't think it's going to be the Boston Marathon background. Thanks for listening. Thanks for indulging me in just a pure running conversation. If you are a runner, or if you're an athlete and you'd like to hear some inspiring stories, definitely check out Kara and Des's books. They are phenomenal. And just a side note, you know what makes running autobiographies so good? Marathon runners keep detailed journals of their training to track how they're doing. And because of that, it gives them an amazing depth in the day to day of their lives. And I think that's it. I think we learn a lot about what's going on. Sometimes I'm like, how do they remember that? But I know they're keeping journals. So that makes their autobiographies, way more specific and detail oriented than some other autobiographies where you feel like they're just skipping vast amounts of time. So, guys, I can't wait to see you next week. Got a lot of good things going on business wise. Can't wait to share them with you. But right now, if you'd like to know more about me and my coaching, just go to capitalizeyourbest.com and let's enjoy that Boston Marathon. And we will talk soon. Thanks, friends. Bye bye.